Okay, let me get this set up. Okay, so this is a presentation for Kinesiology 3305. My name is Paul Slauson, and I am doing doping in sports. So I'm just going to start off with the basic definition of what doping is, and then there's some examples that I'll go through as well. So, what the definition is to administer drugs to athletes in order to inhibit or enhance sporting performance. So, we're going to go through erythropoietin or EPO, blood doping, steroids, HGH, human growth hormone, O2 supplementation. That's one I learned in another kinesiology class, 3306, that I found interesting. Then caffeine, and then stimulants. And then at the end, I'll wrap up how this all ties together with some important sociological questions. So we're going to start with EPO. So a thing about that is it's a hormone secreted by the kidneys that increase the rate of production of red blood cells in response to falling levels of oxygen in the tissues. So the idea is they inject themselves with erythropoietin to increase the production of red blood cells, and that will increase the amount of oxygen and the amount of transportation to the muscles during performance. So more oxygen equals more or less fatigue, more resistant to fatigue. And you are able to contract longer. So in endurance athletes, marathon runners, long distance performances would benefit the most out of this kind of doping. And we'll go to the next one. So blood doping and EPO are very related. They're very similar in the end goal. And so blood doping is the injection of oxygenated blood into an athlete before an event in an attempt to enhance athletic performance. And so you're pretty much doing the same thing, except you're putting blood inside of your body instead of promoting the production of it. There's actually two types of blood doping. So autologous transfusion is when when an athlete takes out their own blood, they store it for later, and then they wait until their blood levels go back up to normal, and then before the performance, before the game, they will inject themselves with their same blood and increase the amount of, or their hematocrit percentage, in order to have more blood cells transport more oxygen into the muscles during performance. Homologous transfusion is when they inject themselves with another person's blood that's compatible, their same blood type, or another athlete's. Like I wrote down here, it is very risky. You can contract some sort of disease, or infection could happen, or just even though it might be the same blood type, it might just not take. Your body might just reject it, and it wasn't successful. So it is the same idea as EPO, and it's supposed to make your performance go up. So that was blood doping. Steroids. So steroids is a synthetic hormone that resembles testosterone in promoting the growth of muscle. So athletes will inject themselves with this synthetic drug to increase their muscle mass, or power, speed, and recovery time as well. The risk factors are a lot. There's more than what I have down here, but what I have listed is heart attack even for young people that take this, kidney problems, liver problems, high blood pressure, enlarged heart, stroke, mood swings, tumors, there was cancers, and much more. So it's highly risky, with the benefits being you're going to get really big, and you'll be going beyond the where the human body's capable of. Human growth hormone is pretty similar with steroids in that they athletes will take them together. So it's a peptide hormone secreted by the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. It stimulates the growth of essentially all tissues, including bone. So it's said to increase muscle mass, decrease fat, speed recovery, kind of similar effects to steroids. The risk factors were a lot too. I would have to have another slide for the same amount of risk factors, but very similar risk factors. But HGH is used outside of sports and outside of the intention of bigger muscles and less fat. It's used for those that are that have growth defects. Some people are lagging behind the growth spurts of where the milestones they're supposed to be, as well as some people have diseases like HIV and AIDS that deteriorate the muscle and muscle mass, and they lose that because of it. And so that's when this can be used outside of the where they want to use it with steroids. So O2 supplementation is an interesting one. Like I said, I learned it in the other class in human performance, 3306. That's when I've been seeing like football players use this, where they take like an oxygen mask filled with pure 100% O2, and they'll breathe it in while they're on the sidelines, while the offense is switching to defense or one or the other. And the desired effect is you breathe that in during the game and you'll recover, you have more oxygen in your system, and you'll be able to perform better. They also think that you breathe it in before the game and you have more oxygen available and you'll be better for it. But there's no evidence that says anything that any of those benefits actually work. So if you breathe it in before the game, you're going to have to breathe out a few times before the game, and there goes all that oxygen. During the game, it doesn't really do anything. Now, after the game, it might help you recover, may help with the not breathing so hard for so long after. But if these athletes are very professional, very elite, they don't even need that anyway. So there's no risk factors that are present for O2 supplementation. So it's pretty harmless, and those that want to do it, they can do it if maybe it's a psychological effect that they're stronger or faster, but that's really the only effect that it would actually have. Caffeine. Everyone knows caffeine. It's a compound that is found in tea and coffee. It's a stimulant of the central nervous system. Excuse me. The effects are pretty straightforward. You have an increased heart rate, increased focus, alertness, being awake. Your blood pressure may also go up, and it's a sympathetic nervous system stimulant. So just like it says, the sympathetic system is like the fight or flight system, the adrenaline, and that's what it promotes, those same effects. There's risk factors: anxiety, sleeping problems, agitation, tremors, headaches as well. It's actually something you can get addicted to. You have to have more of it in order to feel the same effects over time, because you build up a resistance to it. So it kind of sounds like a drug in a way, that you have to take more of it to feel the same high, I guess. And there are withdrawal symptoms like headaches and migraines, which we'll circle back to at the end, and is used to increase performance as well. Stimulants. Of course, these aren't really used in sports as much because of the awareness of how bad they are, but it's a substance that raises the level of psychological or nervous activity in the body, like cocaine or methamphetamine. They're highly illegal. Some medications are considered stimulants, but they're not. They don't have cocaine in them, but they're considered stimulants, and those are legal and they're used correctly. Um, um, Uses in sports just as illegal as outside of sports. Lot of risk factors, a lot of bad things, of course, death with overdosing, addiction. You have to take more of it to feel the same thing, and you get very bad withdrawals as well. So we're going to circle back to everything and tie it into sociology. So a lot of these substances are illegal, and you don't even have to think about it. And some of them are considered cheating in sports as well. But there's actually one that I found that is kind of in that weird in between, like caffeine. The Olympics actually banned it, as I have written down here. The Olympic athletes are permitted now to drink coffee or have caffeine. But actually between 1984 to 2004, the World Anti-Doping Agency banned high concentrations of caffeine for all Olympic events, which is interesting because, and it makes sense that it was banned in a way, because it raises your focus, it gives you an edge, and that could be considered maybe cheating. But it's an interesting question because we all enjoy caffeine, and some of us drink coffee every day, some multiple cups of coffee in the morning, and it was cheating and now it's not. So the good question is that is society shaping what is okay, what is normal, and what isn't? And we'll go more into it towards the end here, but that is a good question. That caffeine is kind of like a drug. You get addicted to it, and you get withdrawal symptoms from it. So it makes sense if you say it in that way that it's banned, but it's not. And I wonder if the organization sees, well, everyone drinks coffee, it's normal now, so there's no harm in having that. And also the perceived roles. Normal people, you do whatever you want with the caffeine, but Olympic athletes, elite athletes, they have a role that we see them as, and they cannot enjoy things that we can, because they have to be fair, and they are elite athletes, and so they have roles like the reading said, stuff like that. So I found caffeine to be an interesting in between. So oxygen supplementation. This isn't illegal. You can do that oxygen mask all you want, and because there's no really effect that it does, and it's not harmful either. So it's like I said, the simple answer is it doesn't work in any way of cheating, and it's harmless. So there's no reason to go through and make it illegal and make all these laws to regulate it. And that was one of the answers I saw online when I was doing research on this, on why it's not illegal, and that was one of the very common answers, is it doesn't do anything. But then that's an interesting observation that I came to. Caffeine is harmful. If you take a lot of it and take it so much, you can get addicted to it, and it can actually may cause heart attacks, and there's risk factors to it. But that's legal too now in the Olympics, which is the highest level of elite athletes, and that's legal. So I don't think that, it doesn't do anything, so it's legal, is the reason. Maybe it's because, well, for oxygen supplementation, it doesn't do anything to you, so you'll be fine. And caffeine may be fine because all of society, it's irregular. It's not deviant. Like the readings say, what's deviant in society will be seen kind of as, we shouldn't be doing that. it should be illegal and everything. And also, I'll mention later, supplements, or not supplements, as I'll mention later that there'll be, well, I'll just go to the next slide and I'll talk about it. Well, let's talk about this. Blood doping and EPO. So that's illegal. It's straight up illegal because it's cheating. It's seen as cheating. You raise your performance past people that don't blood dope. And so that the other question was, caffeine is legal, but blood doping isn't, and they're kind of relatively the same in that it raises your performance. So society definitely shapes in sports what's okay, what's not, what's cheating, and what's not. And just like the reading said, athletes in organized sports traditionally played to the level. So society sees sports as fair, pure, good, and it's a fair, fun game. And so that's why these things that give you the edge are illegal, because that's how the organizations, like the readings say, see these substances as. So, like I said, the organization leaders have seen sports as pure and good and fair, and that's what it comes down to. The practices are cheating, but a large part of it is determined by society and how they see sports as fair and honest games. So what if society thinks, oh, well, this is this sport, you can do this, it's okay. Which will actually, the next slide I'm going to talk about, that's the one, steroids. So in professional bodybuilding, steroids is not illegal. It's kind of expected in the guys that are huge, really big muscles, super strong. Steroids are okay, and it is a competitive sport. It's considered, when I did more research, and steroids are fine in that sport. But what about in football? And is it because it's not a popular sport, so nobody really cares? Or do they have a role that you're supposed to be huge, you're supposed to take steroids, that's what we as a society expect? In that sense, you're not deviant if you take steroids if you're a bodybuilder. But if you are a cyclist or a sprinter and you take steroids, that is cheating, and because nobody else is doing it, that is deviant in that sport. So that's where the readings come in to what they were talking about when it came to the doping part of the chapter. So stimulants, though, they're clearly illegal. They have no place in sports because they're seen as cheating way more. You don't have to. They're seen as you don't have to work hard to achieve the level that steroids get you to. Stimulants are extremely harmful. They're really bad for you. There's no question about them having no place in sports. So that's an opposite end of the spectrum, where you have O2 supplementation is legal because it doesn't do anything, and stimulants are extremely illegal because they do a lot of bad. They ruin the body. And so do steroids and caffeine. If there's a lot of risks, a lot of bad things that go with it. But I think that it has to do with society shaping sports as well as the organizations that run them, and that caffeine's normal now, so maybe caffeine is okay to use. Steroids are normal in bodybuilding, so they're okay. We expect you to use steroids and HGH. And so that's what it comes down to. So I think it's really an interesting thing doing this project to see all these doping substances are considered legal or illegal depending on the sport, society, and what they see. If injecting yourself with something is very taboo, very bad, very deviant, and if they're harmful. And everyone makes a quick assumption, well, if it does so much bad, then it should be illegal. So in conclusion, I mentioned bodybuilding in this conclusion too. So doping is seen as illegal and there's a fair reason for this, blood doping and EPO and stuff. They give you an unfair advantage, and sports are supposed to be played fair. That's what us as a society see sports as fair, and you shouldn't be taking stuff. You should be training hard. You should be eating good in order to get better than the other person. Working hard. That's how you should beat the other person. And that's what we are taught about sports, is that they're fair, and if this team won, it's not because they cheated or they're taking something, it's because they won because it's fair and square. And that's what us as a society believes. And like I said, steroids is legal in bodybuilding. And, what is the difference between that sport and basketball? It's about what we expect, what we think, oh, okay, that's normal, for bodybuilding. Whereas basketball steroids is not normal, and it's not allowed. And it could be the popularity. So, like I said, society plays a good role in shaping sports in what is or is not allowed. That's pretty much how society definitely plays a big role in doping and sports. So that's been my presentation on doping, and I had a lot of fun in this class. And thanks for watching.